Yo, yo, hello.
Yes.
What's happening, Krishna? Want to learn a little bit about vegetable production in agroforestry systems. Krishna is a family friend of ours in Rio.
Oh, really? Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on YouTube as well. Hello, YouTube. Uh, People in YouTube, can you confirm that you can hear me well? Because I'm trying a different setup, and I just want to make sure that you guys in YouTube can hear me. So let's wait for our YouTube viewers to answer.
Yeah, we can hear you on YouTube. I just checked.
Oh, you checked it.
So it's
Good.
A-OK.
Much easier.
Yeah.
Indeed. Cool. So let's get going. Um, People on Instagram, we're doing this in YouTube as well. Thank you, Shannon, for confirming that you hear me. We're doing it in YouTube as well, YouTube, Instagram. So if you guys are in Instagram, if you can, do go to YouTube, hit those like buttons. It's going to help the channel a lot if you guys improve, increase the traffic there. But let's get going. Today's topic, or actually this week's topic, is vegetable production and agroforestry system. So that's going to be quite nice, I guess, isn't it, Gennaro?
Yeah, vegetables is usually like the door in, it's where people, everyone's so concerned about economic side of things as well. So a lot of people, they want to be sustainable. Maybe they got a farm or they're fed up of the city or whatever. And, you're looking for something when you go to your first agroforestry course and, you do the maths, and usually if it's a typical 3-day course, often, you do the practical, during 2 days, 2 days and a half. And then at the end, you do the economics of what you've planted during that. And when you do the maths there, all the economics, with the vegetable production and how prosperous it can be, that's where people are like, okay, so I can make a business out of this. That's when people, usually start with agroforestry, knowing that, in very short time, you can be rotating vegetables and, have a market, up and running reasonably fast. So this is what I find. I think, for people which are initiating the process, I often see, that the vegetable production is something that becomes very tempting, um, uh, to lure people in, convince people into coming. We'll talk about this, about the figures, if it's actually a reality, if it's as great as, some courses promise. Because, when you sit there and you do the maths, you're like, wow, but they don't tell you the full story as well, with all the costs behind, not just your labor costs and your manure costs, but, so many hidden costs behind, and also like losses and things like that. So it is a great commercial system. It is financially viable and profitable, but you do need to be, well advised, well prepared, and you do need to have a reasonably structured market for you to sell your vegetables, so that you can make that a reality, so you can convert that, into cash flow for real, right, Felipe?
Yeah, that's it. There is no magical crop, no magical production system that's going to solve everybody's problem. So it's all a matter of understanding, right, each person's situation and size of land, vocation, and all of that. But the vegetables are they're very, very enticing because it's something they can be harvesting in 30 days, right? So people get kind of really encouraged by that. Oh shit! So I can plant an agroforestry and start harvesting in 30 days. Yeah, you definitely can, and it's so that's what's great about planting vegetables, because you can really have something going quick. And whereas you can have a higher profit margin per hectare or per acre, it's important to understand that it's a riskier operation as well, right? The plants are a lot more sensitive. They demand a lot more care. Any bad weather can hurt the plants a lot more than grass or fruit, for example. And of course, if you by any for whatever reason you don't manage to sell your vegetables at the right time, you lose them pretty quickly, right? So it's always that the usual balance in any business, risk reward. If you're going to run higher risks, you're going to have higher rewards. That's the way to go. That's the way it goes, actually, right? But it's I love how having vegetables as a potential product it kind of breaks that notion that. And I actually, there's this guy from a nearby town, a town called Mucugê, which is in the high parts of Chapada. And it's he wants to do a project. He's got a small farm there, and he's say, yeah, he wants to do something to encourage people around to do another, to change the agriculture model. And he's saying, yeah, we need to, talk to them because I understand that agroforestry, it takes a while for you to start, making some money. And this is a completely wrong notion because it's not agroforestry that takes a while. It's the crops that you choose. So yeah, if you're going to do agroforestry with a focus in avocado or citrus or whatever it is, if it's a fruit or if it's timberwood, if it's one of those perennial crops, yes, it's going to take a while, but you might just as well do an agroforestry system based on vegetable production or bananas production or papayas production. And that's a much faster income. So it's not that there is no agroforestry takes long to start bearing fruit. No, it really depends on the crops. And then vegetable systems really come into to prove that, right? That you can be making money in 30 days and you can start paying the bills in 30 days.
Yeah, I mean it's the kind of case if you want to be a fruit producer, if you want to get into the fruit business, it is a great way, to pay the bills until you get there. So even if your lifestyle maybe is not well adapted to the high demand, high labor demand that an intensive vegetable system needs, it's still a profitable way to get to your fruit harvest. For those first couple of years, 2-3 years, you can be spinning around some quicker cycle plants, so that I mean, ideally what we'll have the situation is that the forest, the fruit forest, the food forest is a legacy of your vegetable production. So if you actually set up a proper intense vegetable system and you plant trees all around it, you come to the point where you've harvested all this veg, and it's paid off, or it's broken even, or you've got a little bit of profit depending on your situation. And in the end, there's the legacy, so your food forest was paid by your vegetable production. That's usually the means to achieve and to finance your fruit system. So this is a point.
Yeah, Wolfbird Homestead is here on YouTube. He's always around. He's saying he's planning on starting a small market garden mimicking the veg banana setup. That's pretty cool, but you are at 12C. I didn't even know it got to 12C. I didn't know there was that climate there. What is climate 12C? I thought you got only to 11 or something like that. What's 12C, man? Tell us. I can't even find it here in the internet. I'm gonna wait till he says. But he's saying he wants to start doing a market garden in the middle of the city. That sounds pretty cool. That's one of the cool things about vegetables as well. You can make decent, you can have a decent revenue from small plots. You know, you can harvest quite a lot. And when you start really playing with companion planting schemes for vegetables, you will produce from 2 to 3 times more vegetables per square meter quite easily, and it's just really a matter of getting the proper consortiums in place, and you can produce quite a lot. Okay, you're 9B Northern California. What's that 12C that you mentioned, man?
That 12 Celsius.
I don't know. Yeah, but 9B, yeah, your bananas are going to suffer when you do get frost, but I mean, you can look for those frost, for those colder resistant bananas. We know there's some varieties that are a bit more tolerant to cold, so that you can have that that nice production over there of banana biomass. But man, banana is just so amazing to use bananas as biomass for vegetables production. It's just so great, so great. Yeah. So, Gennaro, what is your favorite vegetable to plant in your agroforestry system?
Felipe
I already know
posted
that
some
answer,
stories and I've been doing
but you're gonna say that.
Yeah, I love planting tomatoes. I just think there's great value, great market value, the kind of thing. You know, I'm really into planting what everyone wants to eat. You know, personally, I'm not so into planting, you know, those unique things and these fancy things. And look, I've got this exclusive vegetable. I've got this exclusive, unique. You know, I've done a lot of market in my life, and when it's exclusive and when it's new and you have to introduce this particular super plant, you take it to the market and you have to talk to people about it, you know, and you have to convince people to try it. And, you know, they might sell 1 or 2 or 3, whatever. But, you know, it doesn't matter if you take a box of tomatoes to the market, you're going to sell a box of avocados. You know, if you take, you know, 10 boxes of strawberries, you're going to sell them all. So I'm really into producing what everyone loves to eat, right? I just like the yo, Hua, our main man Hua here from Lagoesh, our neighbor, our friend, agroforestry producer, big time style. It's just come in there on YouTube, and shout out to Joshua here on Instagram.
Sugasti? What the balls?
Yeah. Him and Luzinha in Sítio Sintropia. So I love the tomatoes. You know, I'm all about, you know, maths as well, economics, and you know, it's no secret if you've been watching our videos, you know that I don't take too much care in the tomatoes. I care for them in the sense of that, you know, we prepare a nice bed, we give it nice fertilization, you know, inputs. We, you know, give it a nice covering of the soil, proper decent soil coverage, the right kind of companion with it. But, you know, I'm not into tying my tomatoes. I'm not into pruning my tomatoes. I'm not into spraying my tomatoes with nothing. The maths, for me, it just doesn't add up. You know, labor is one of the heaviest costs. And then, you know, once you really go down that route of really looking after your tomatoes, like, you know, like there's special, you know, I mean, you finish the row and you know you finish all your beds and you got to start again, so you have someone just looking after that, you know, depending on the scale. You got someone just on your tomatoes. So, you know, I like to let them crawl. I look for those you know, resistance in. We plant the cherry tomatoes. They're much more resistant than, you know, other larger varieties. And they're so quick as well. You flip them over really quick. So yeah, I love planting those things that if you take a box to the market, you gotta sell the whole box, you know, and everyone wants it, you know, all your friends in the other market. So it's nice. It's nice. So you know,
Yeah, one thing that I think is very
it's
important when people are starting vegetable system is that you do have a couple of different market strategies, right? That you can adopt. You can go for wholesale of products. So and then you can specialize in seasonal products, which is you know, stuff that's only going to grow in a season. You know, like onions, garlics, leeks, that sort of stuff. And Wolfbird, since you are over there in Sacramento, you have a more defined seasons. You're really gonna have to work with seasonal vegetables, right? And so you can have one strategy is to become like a big garlic producer, for example, and then you just produce a few hectares of garlic and you sell, you know, dozens of tons of garlic at once, and you just make like 1-2 wholesales at one time during the year. That's one strategy that can be adopted, and that then in terms of selling and of marketing your product, it becomes a bit more like a fruit system, which is a seasonal thing. And then the other strategy is to have that ongoing basis of maybe a diversity of products, which you're going to be either selling to local markets or selling it yourself in your shop or in a farmer's market, or doing delivery of organic boxes and that sort of stuff. So I really see these two different two main different categories, right? You become a wholesale and you have moments of the year where you have this huge produce, or you're that producer that's planting every week, planting every couple of weeks, and selling a variety of products, maybe, you know, which could be a bunch, like 10, 12, 15 products if you're delivering boxes to final customer, or it could be 3-4 products that you're delivering to retailers. I think these are two strategies that could be used.
yeah. I suppose. I mean, me myself. I'm been investing in really going into fruit systems. But you know, as we expand, you know, initially I was into vegetable because initially you don't have a forest, and to establish a forest, you can turn over a lot of vegetable. I'm organic certified, so I've got all my vegetables certified, and I got access to the markets. And you know, I've got an association with friends, which we've traditionally had a few markets around town. With the pandemic, they closed content strategies and that. We've got the physical shop now. I did have, you know, a market which I can, you know, like a stool food market which I could send 92. And like I said, initially I have a forest. It's an opportunity to
You're breaking off
density.
completely, man.
You open the
You're
market,
completely
you get
breaking
your
off.
contacts.
It's
All right.
impossible to understand.
Well, have a word with the people. I'm going to have a word with the people in my house as well to lay off on the internet here. 1 second here.
All right, cool. Max R is asking, is there vegetables that don't like woody mulch? Not really, man. I've planted everything in woody mulch. What you do have to consider though is how thick it is. You know, you want it to be as thin as possible. And then of course you have to be careful, because since you're planting usually very small seedlings or very sensitive seeds, small seeds, you do run the risk of kind of drowning the vegetables in too much mulch if the particles are too big. So you really need to work well and understand how to organize your mulch so that your vegetables can thrive properly. But woody mulch is brilliant as long as it's shredded, right? So as long as you got these fine small particles. Wolfbird is saying that he's got no interest in veg, but being in the city,
Yeah,
I
we
think veg
actually
is
have
better
a
money use of urban space.
video.
Yeah, definitely, man. No doubt.
we actually have a video that talks about, different quality mulch that's, better for different quality systems. When it's very rough and very large, and unorganized, you like to have that kind of mulch that is very organized for your vegetables. You systematically plant in every so many centimeters. So there's this awkward, piece of wood in the middle of your vegetable bed. So I mean, and as well, when you're in cities, in like urban, you're doing like, it's got to be all nice and neat, because it's like, like in my daughter's school, it's a school, so it's a demonstration plot. When there's a lot of people visiting and you want to have everything neat, it makes a difference as well. In that case, when in vegetable in my daughter's school, I always love to use grass, just grass. It's been neat as grass. It's great for mulching, and it's just so beautiful, and you can organize it. And for the kids, to open up like a grass, it's very easy. It's very easy to maneuver around, and it tends to be, where if you're in a school, there tends to be a grass patch where the kids, and I see in schools, but sometimes in a project in someone's house, and they've got like a garden, and they're really into their, how do you call it, when it's like a, pretty thing, you know what I'm saying? So grass is really nice. When you come in with those grass, people usually put them into black bags and throw that grass away. That's a crime. They're beautiful for vegetable production. Doesn't tend to be a reality for people which are doing it in larger scales. People that are really serious about vegetable productions, they don't tend to have grass around them. They tend to have, vegetable beds. And so there is a difference of mulching material for different styles of food production, for sure.
Yeah. Wolford is
if you
asking
get
if there's
unlimited wood chips,
yeah,
that'll be great.
I wouldn't say there's a reason for it to have other source of carbon material. There's a reason for it to have bananas as a second, or maybe the primary material, because bananas are just the coolest thing for vegetable production. Just because it's so rich in water, and it's gonna really be dripping water into the bed, and supplying a lot of potassium, which is pretty great. It's, think of bananas as potassium drip fertilization. So definitely do that, and this is, you will see the difference if you start using bananas as mulch for vegetables. Your vegetables will taste sweeter, because potassium is one of the most important elements for transferring sugar, right? For creating sugar in the plant. So you really need to have decent levels of potassium to have sweetness. So if you have wood chips, ideally fresh wood chips and banana trunks, that's the best combination ever. And then make sure you have a huge layer of mulch in between the beds. And I mean huge, like as much as you can put without them falling over into the bed.
Yeah, it's great getting the wood chips in, especially if you can get it in to as close as nothing. If you've got a nice deal, you're giving a good destiny to this material that, in the past was often thrown away. So it's fantastic, the wood chips. But I mean, bananas can be even better, right? Because it's like, it's grown there locally. It's just chop and drop, isn't it? Chop and drop. Of course, you can, plant the tree and shred that, but that's extra labor. And I mean, which is more intense than chopping bananas. It demands machinery and investment as well. So, I mean, for bananas, vegetable loves bananas. There's a video with that title as well, Vegetable Loves Bananas. It produces, so much in such little time, so much volume. And we've actually done some tests where, if you're pruning your bananas down for vegetable production, it doesn't necessarily mean that you got to harvest bananas longer. I've actually had bananas, I pruned them down and then let them come. So it's incredible. Um, it's incredible the information as well that resprouting banana already in a better situation now where maybe where you've planted that banana seedling originally and that suffered a little bit. It's adapted for it to adapt and really take off. So now once you've pruned that one and fed that to the vegetable, when the next one comes along, which is like a God-given banana, born from the mother directly from the ground, it tends to come much better. So you just love planting banana for cuttings. Basically, you have to love it. Plant the banana, cut it, and then you're gonna have better bananas. You're gonna have better vegetables. It's great.
Cool. Maxar is asking how much wood ash is too much to put in the bed. And this is such a complicated question because it completely depends on your soil. Here in Brazil, we put anywhere between 1 ton to 15 tons per hectare. But it honestly, it really depends on the type of soil you have, and the type of wood ash. Wood ash actually changes composition based on what kind of plant you burnt, right? It's going to depend on the plant's composition. If you get wood ash, probably in the same region, it's going to be similar. But it's important to understand your soil, to know what your soil looks like. If it's a more alkaline soil, if it's a very acidic soil. The more acidic the soil, the more you can get away with putting more wood ash. The closer it is to a neutral pH, the more calcium and magnesium it already has, the less wood ash you should put. But so yeah, it can be a pretty big range between 1 and 15 tons per hectare. That's 100 grams to 1.5 kilos per square meter. Yeah, Luke's saying that chopping bananas is also really fun.
Just in general,
it is one of the coolest things to do.
Yeah, I would say just in general, be generous with your manure, be generous with your inputs, just in general. So it's one of those things. I mean, now say if you are really into your vegetable, if you really got the market for it and you decided, you've done the maths and you want to be a vegetable producer, you got that kind of energy where you're up for it. So, I mean, all of a sudden it doesn't become so interesting, planting, such high density trees in like variety wise as well. What I'm saying is like, so many, cocktail homes and things that, if you're serious and you want to be vegetable producer for the 5-7 years, then I mean, if you're not going to be able to let your trees develop to that stage, right? So, because the idea is, you get your wood trees, like in our climate, the eucalyptus and the bananas going on, and that produces a lot of material, sure. But, if you want to start, planting, longer term timber wood and things that you're gonna be a bit shy about pruning down, and any extra costs you can cut, in that case. So if you are serious about vegetable production, you don't need to go with necessarily high variety. You can choose a few, organic matter producing, plants and go for that, and then heavyweight pruning. And then there's the equation as well. How far apart do you put your tree rows? If you're not so keen on maintaining your vegetable production, you could decide that your tree rows are closer together, 4 or 5 meters, apart from each other. And but if you want to get to the fruits, but you'd like to have a little bit more vegetable time, if you like to have sun coming in, you know, where you're going to be pruning your bananas and your eucalyptus, but, you know, some of the other trees, you're going to be, you know, allowing them to grow. So maybe in 3 years from now, you're going to have to, you know, stop your vegetable production because other trees are growing things that don't accept pruning as well as bananas and eucalyptus. Then you can, you know, place your tree rows further apart from each other. We talk, then you can start talking about 7, 8, 10, 12 meters, right? So whereas you could have like tree bed, 2 vegetable beds, tree bed, you tree bed. So anything, you know, between that is often is what we usually recommend. So you have to see, you understand, if you space the trees wider, it means more light coming in. But then what's the catch? Less organic matter coming from your bananas, less organic matter coming from your eucalyptus, from your service crops there, because it's spread apart. So, I mean, in that case, and things like that, right? Coming and bringing things from external, or you're going to plant service crops in consortium with your vegetable, but that's going to be, in one sense, a little bit of a loss because you could have consortiumed another vegetable. I'm talking about, you know, when you go really in for vegetable production. I rarely plant a full vegetable consortium. I usually plant, you know, 1, maybe 2 vegetables, and then, you know, 1 or 2 service crops in consortium with that vegetable. But I'm not so concerned about, you know, maxing out my vegetable production. If I was, then I would have a consortium of vegetables. And then where's my organic matter going to come from? The tree rows. If they're spaced apart, then I need something, I'm going to need some external input to cover my soil. You know, in many places, there's truckfuls of mold, things like that. And I mean, if you've got some, you can bring that manure, the soil.
Yeah, you're breaking
There's a
off
system.
completely now, man.
Think
It's
about it.
not
You
working.
produce organic matter on the spot. Where is it going to come from? Once you
can't hear anything of what you're saying. Completely broken off.
All right.
I was gonna go back to what Wolfbird was saying, and taking the since you're talking about consortiums. One really interesting thing for you guys who live in a temperate climate, and it is a strategy that we use here in Brazil here as well, but for different reasons. But you know, do winter grains like grasses, all sorts of grasses, right? Wheat, oats, whatever it is. Get your winter grains in your beds, and then since they're annual, you know, once you get that harvest, you're gonna leave that really nice mulch layer, and then of your vegetables, right? So you get into a no-tillage system for vegetables, and so for temperate climates that works very well. Here in Brazil, I know farmers who are doing during the dry season millet. And so actually in the end of the rainy season, they would sow millet, and then they would produce their vegetables in the rainy season, which is better because we get better prices here during the rainy season, because many people cannot produce that because of the simple reason that they don't feed their vegetable properly and they don't cover the soil. So you can have that, especially when you're working with that sort of seasonal vegetable. And you're working in wholesale, so you can, you know, plant a large area of the grass, of your annual grass, you know, millet if you're in the tropics, and winter grasses if you're in the subtropics or in temperate zones. And you're going to get that nice mulch layer, and then you come in with your vegetables, you know, large scale, and you harvest all at once, sell it, come back with the grass. That's a very interesting alternation of production for people in temperate zones, or people who have very, very defined dry and wet seasons. So that's something for you to consider as well, Wolfbird. If you have an abundance of of space in city, many different lots. You could just, go around and you sow your winter grains all around. You're going to get the nice mulch layer, and then you're going to cut that and harvest it actually, and then produce your vegetables on top of that mulch layer. That's a pretty sweet system.
And it's great to be producing things that you can store, right? So your grains you can store, and then when you do have the climate where you can produce your onions and your garlics, those are the kind of things you can store as well. So if you can't produce all year round, you can produce in a certain scale and sell it all year round, right? So it's also interesting to choose those crops, depending that you can store for longer. I also, I love using the vegetables nowadays to introduce systems to, through vegetable, like the grass. We've recently planted quite a bit of Napier grass here in the house. There's a four video series on that on YouTube. And it's like, I implemented a grass system through vegetable production. Like I said, it's great when you implement a system and it's being paid for by the vegetable. The vegetable will pay that through that labor, will pay that irrigation, will justify, all the inputs initially for that system. And if you have got a market where you can, shift this vegetable, so it's just great to be, implementing systems through vegetable production. So this is something that, I'll never leave behind. Even though I'm not so, my lifestyle that I'm choosing is not for an intensive vegetable system, but I always have a little bit of vegetables, because every time I implement a new system, every time, I restart a system or we're planting a new plot, there's an opportunity to harvest, the most amazing amount of vegetables. Because, again, already you're using that manure for the system that you're implementing. You're setting up the irrigation. You're preparing beds. Often you're preparing beds, and introduce the vegetables, and you can often pay for your operation through vegetable production. And your crops, your long-term, medium-term crops, or your system that you're devising will be a legacy from the vegetables. So this is one way to look at it as well.
Yeah. Luke is asking, do you ever incorporate black pepper into your system? I personally haven't. I think it's a great plant. It's for more advanced systems, right? Where you have when you have proper forest installed, that's where it loves to be. I've had a few plants around, but I've never really gotten into producing really black pepper, in large quantities. But I think it's a pretty awesome plant to have around. And then Max is asking if we have any experience of biochar with veggies. I gotta tell you, man, I've said a few times I'm not much of a fan of biochar actually, and not because I don't think it is an awesome input. And I always tell people, if there's somebody producing biochar close to me, I might buy it and put it in my field. But I'm never going to produce it to put it in my field, because it doesn't make sense to me to burn wood or whatever organic matter it is to put in the soil, instead of really covering the soil with the organic matter. But if you have access to that, definitely, man, it's one stage before ashes, so it's pretty awesome. It retains lots of water. It will improve the physical characteristics of the soil, so that's a no-brainer. But I would never recommend burning your organic matter and producing biochar to incorporate into the soil. You should use your organic matter to cover the soil. We have a question here in Instagram. Soul Gardener is asking, do you think growing vanilla is profitable? Well, it goes back to that idea, man. People can make a profit out of anything. It's just a matter of properly having a plan and understanding connected from that operation, understanding all the markets, you know, if you have market for that, if you're going to process the product. So it's really a matter of planning, just like any business. You know, growing vanilla is different than growing vegetables, which is different than growing beef cattle. So you need to, like, if you want to make it a business out of it, you really got to approach it like a business. And vanilla is a high valued product. So there's definitely money to be made from it if you can devise the proper system, if you can find the market, and if you can learn to work with it properly.
I think vanilla and like black peppers, they're plants that, you know, they fit in quite nicely in certain consortiums. So often you can use it as a secondary crop. You know, maybe you have a primary crop that you invest in, and you know, these kind of plants, they can fit in as a secondary crop. Often that can work.
Wolfbird saying that his neighborhood is a food desert, but our city is officially the farm to fork capital, formerly city of trees. So you're in a position to make a revolution over there, man. To set an example of a cool way of producing. And is that in the Central Valley of California? Where is it exactly? There's supposedly some very good soils over there, very good land, I hear. But cool. He says there's lots of blighted and abandoned lots. Yeah, lots of stuff you can do over there. Let's see if we have some more questions from Instagram. I don't think so.
Nice. So guys, this week,
Soul Gardener asked. I ended up answering. Go on.
Yeah, so you know, this week we're gonna keep the theme on vegetable production, right? We're doing another live on a Thursday, and you know, we just generally the content's gonna be, you know, vegetable related, and we got the ebook as well. We've got a vegetable production ebook that will be out on a Friday, I believe. So you know, we're tying up all you know, the theme. We've done a series, right, of 3 topics, hot topics. We've done a week on fruit systems, then we've done a week on grass production, and now we're doing, you know, this week on vegetable systems. So that's really cool. You guys stay in tune. We're going to be around here this week. And then for our Patreon community, we're launching there the ebooks that follow up on that. And then we have a special webinar as well to tie in with the ebook. And it's great stuff going on in the Patreon community. If you guys, you know, if you're looking to have, like, you know, more contact with us one-on-ones and things like that, you know, through the Patreon, we've got the Q&As and things like that. So it's only $7.90 a month. It's just a way of supporting us to keep on bringing, you know, free content, supporting us to keep on, you know, posting, you know, weekly videos on YouTube and everything like that. Obviously, there's a cost, so it's really welcome support, that one there. And then, you know, there's lots of cool activities going on with the Patreon community. So yeah, let's hype it up this week with the vegetable production systems.
Yeah, and make sure you guys write down lots of questions, knowing that we're gonna have that live, another live on Thursday. So you know, we're always happy to answer your questions when we're live. So make sure you bring some questions and comments for the next session, and be in tune in our Instagram account. And I think we can start rounding up. Let's see if anybody's got any more questions. But if not, I'm just gonna make a comment on, while people think if they have more questions. On Soul Gardener, he asked what spacing I should put for papayas. And papayas, you know, papayas is one of those one of those crops that I almost consider in those rich soils that we produce in vegetable systems. And I was just saying, 3 meters is decent spacing for papayas. Of course, it's going to depend a bit if it's really a main crop for you, if you want to have serious production of papaya or not. But in general, that's the spacing people usually use, between 2 and 3 meters. So yeah.
Yeah, papayas is so great.
No more questions, guys. So I think we can wrap it up. What do you say? Any last comments?
Yeah, just on the papayas. I mean, if ever you have like, a food forest and your climate permits it, the papayas are just so amazing. Along with your eucalyptus and your bananas, the papaya is part of the trio because it gives so much stimulation. It grows so fast, and all the other trees play catch up, and it really a lot of stimulation with those papayas. And every time mention papayas, I love it, even more than the fruit, the stimulation it gives to neighboring trees to grow fast.
Yeah, it's an
I've seen
amazing
some
plant.
great results with
Definitely
that.
a must-have for anybody who's in the tropics, no doubt. All right, guys, so let's round it up. We'll catch you all next Thursday at the same time, so be in tune.
Thanks for showing up.